go back in time a little bit, and I'm going to read from a play of mine called Good Night, Desdemona, Good Morning, Juliet. And I'll just read one little brief scene, and it's between Constance, who is our protagonist, a kind of beleaguered academic who finds herself in the worlds of first Othello and then Romeo and Juliet, and she basically wreaks havoc with the tragedies. And she has just saved Desdemona from Desdemona's tragic fate. And Desdemona's thrilled to have a new friend. And just then the Turks attack. And Desdemona goes down to the seafront to watch the battle because she's actually a bloodthirsty Amazon. And, I didn't make that up. Shakespeare did, but, you know. But that's not usually how she's depicted. And, well, you can ask me about that in the Q&A, can't you? So Desdemona comes up from the battle on the beach with a severed head. It's a youthful play. And presents it to Constance, her new friend. Only I'll speak in iambic pentameter. Constance, sister, here's thy boon. Behold what I have plucked off the beach. 'Tis like to be thy fool's cap. Take it, read. The head has a scroll between its teeth. And Constance, anyway, it's all very corny anyway. Constance takes the scroll. She thinks it might be a clue to her destiny, but it isn't. It's in Sumerian. Desdemona says, "Script of infidels." And Constance reads the scroll. "The tapestries and portraits of the main hall, 5 spring lambs, all the horse and woman flesh." This isn't it. This is a looting list. Desdemona takes the head back. "Villain!" and tosses it off stage. And Constance is about to faint. And Desdemona says, "Faint not, my noble heart of Academe." Oh, right, she knows that Constance comes from a place called Academe and Queen's University. And, well, she's sort of drawn her own conclusions about that. "Faint not, my noble heart of Academe. Envision thy worst foe with open gorge." But I don't have a foe. "Fie, thou must have." "There's only one on earth whom I resent, but never did he mean to hurt me." "Nay, who be this false foe?" "He's Professor Knight." "What harm to thee?" "I used to work for him. For 10 years I assisted him by writing some articles he would have writ himself had he the time, but he's a busy man. Now he's got tenure and an Oxford post I hoped was meant for me. 10 years of ghostly writing for a thief. Thy mind hath proved a cornucopia to slake the glutton sloth, and he hath cooked his stolen feast on thy Promethean heat. You really think so? Aye, thou wast in thrall. 10 years an inky slave in paper chains. Yeah, he wears the laurel wreath that should be thine. I guess he does. And commands the legion Academe from lecture stands that he usurp from thee. What can you do? Gird thou thy trembling loins and slay Professor Knight. Oh, I'm guilty too. I helped him in deceiving queens for years. Thine eyes were shrouded by the demon night, and so art thou more sinned against than sinning. Thanks. But tell me more of life in Academe. If there be cannibals that each other eat, and men whose heads do grow beneath their shoulders, these things to hear I seriously incline. It is quite dog-eat-dog. And scary, too. I've slaved for years to get my doctorate, but in a field like mine that's so well trod, you run the risk of contradicting men who've risen to the rank of sacred cow and dying on the horns of those who rule the pasture with an iron cud. Not that I'm some kind of feminist. I shave my legs and I get nervous in a crowd. It's just that I was labeled as a crackpot by the sacred herd of Academe. And after years spent as a laughingstock, I finally came to think that it was true. But Desdemona, now that I've met you, I want to stand out in that field and cry, bullshit. Wherefore, and what, pray tell, may bullshit be? A kind of lie. For instance, Academe believes that you're a doomed and helpless victim. Aye. Did I not beat a path into the fray, my vow to honor in thy fool's cap quest? Did I not flee my father, here to dwell beneath the sword Hephaestus forged from Mars? Will I not dive into Sargasso Sea to serve a breast the Amazons abroad? Will I not butcher any cow that dares low lies to call me tame? Aye, that I will. So raise I now the battle cry, bullshit! And together, bullshit! 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 I'll read a little bit from The Way the Crow Flies. The birds saw the murder. Down below in the new grass, the tiny white bellheads of the lily of the valley. It was a sunny day. Twig crackling, early spring stirrings, spring soil smell. April. A stream through the nearby woods, so refreshing to the ear. It would be dry by the end of summer, but for now it rippled through the shade. High in the branches of an elm, that is where the birds were, perched among the many buds set to pleat like fresh hankies. The murder happened near a place kids called Rock Bass, in a meadow at the edge of the woods. A tamped down spot, as though someone had had a picnic there. The crows saw what happened. Other birds were in the high branches, and they saw too, but crows are different. They are interested. Other birds saw a series of actions. The crows saw the murder. A light blue cotton dress, perfectly still now. From high in the tree, the crows eyed the charm bracelet glinting on her wrist. Best to wait. The silver beckoned, but best to wait. Once upon a time, in a republic that no longer exists, there was a handsome and brilliant young man called Werner von Braun. He came from an aristocratic Prussian family, and he shared the passion of his generation. Rockets. They were as yet merely a dream. Humanity's chance to rise far above the violence of earthly existence, to where our petty differences would shrink in the immensity of space. A dream of peace in our time. Werner studied physics and joined a club of amateur enthusiasts who built small rockets of their own, launching them on weekends. He caught the notice of an army officer who shared his dream and belonged to an organization with pockets deep enough to fund it. In 1936, Germany was recovering, freeing itself from the yoke of poverty. There were finally people in power, vulgar people perhaps, who nonetheless knew how to get things done. It was a wonderful time to be young. Werner was 25 years old when he was put in charge of the Army's secret project to build the biggest, most powerful rockets the world had ever known. But first, they needed to find a safe place to forge their dream. Werner's mother said to him over Christmas dinner, "Why don't you take a look at Peenemünde? Your grandfather used to go duck hunting up there." Werner fell in love at first sight with Peenemunde's wilderness, alive with deer and birds, its lost sandy beaches and Baltic sea breezes. The first trees fell before the bulldozers on April 1st. Scaffolding and test stands were raised, rail tracks were laid, barracks were built, and a neoclassical campus sprang up to accommodate designers, physicists, engineers, aerodynamicists, technicians, administrators, and all the gifted young people who would make the dream a reality. The slaves came later.